Hey, Single Plan Academy Gold members, thanks for joining me today in this point of view series, which we have found, and I know you've given us some feedback, which has been a great way of looking at the golf swing. Thanks for all the feedback on that, and I've enjoyed doing it because I love talking about the details of the swing. But I want to make one thing really clear, because today we're going to talk about going from 0 to 1 to 2 to the top of the backswing. We're going to break the backswing into some positions, but keep in mind that I like the detail, I like talking about it, and this is stuff we need to be paying attention to as you develop your mechanics. But you must learn a skill that I talk about often, which is you practice the mechanics here, you use video to study it, you practice with our coaches, you develop your skills, but when you go walk to that golf course, you don't think about any of this stuff. I don't think about one of these things that I'm talking about when I play. This stuff is all done right here when I'm developing my technique. So keep that in mind as we get into some serious heavy detail of the golf swing. Moe talked about the backswing as an inward and then up, in and upward move, in and then up. And there's a lot of really important stuff in that. I want to talk about that in this segment, is how does the club actually move in, and then what happens to make it go up, and then how do we get to the top of the backswing. So let's take a look at it. I want to give you some perspective here on what the backswing looks like. From the time I address the ball, I'm not going to get into address, we did that in the last segment, as we move into position 1 all the way to position 2. Now, here's where a lot of people make the mistake is, do I take it straight back? Do I take it inside? How does the club actually move away? And I'll just give you some of my personal experience with this. And this is very important stuff for me. And I've said this, I say this to my brother and some of the guys I hang out with, we play golf. I know from my personal experience in this game that when I move the club away, that first foot of movement in the backswing, if that feels good to me, I hit the ball really, really well. If that first move away in the golf swing doesn't feel very good, or if I'm struggling with my first move, I can guarantee you I'm not hitting the ball very well. So the first move is important. And before we get into too much looking at it from this point of view perspective, if you ever want to know exactly how the club should move away from a path standpoint, how it looks, all you got to do is take the club, attach it to the pivot point right there, right? That's right in front of the belly button. I'm looking down, and all you got to do is turn away everything together as the club attaches to the body. That movement, see that movement right there, is exactly how the club should move away. That's the most natural motion the club can make, turning away. You can see it right there. I just want to give you that little bit right there if you're ever like struggling with how is the club supposed to be traveling. And then what you do is from that, you extend your hand out, and then now you can watch it move away. See how I'm seeing the club move away in that same pattern? If you're ever kind of like, how the heck, because I'm just talking from my personal experience, I've been there where I'm fighting that first move, where it's like, oh, I took it outside, I can't feel the backswing. I want to give you a little bit of reference there to how does that club make that first movement, and now we can work that into the backswing. So I'm at address right now, obviously you can see, we talked about this in the last segment. And now, just like I showed you a second ago, the club, I'm looking down and see how the club, the shaft is actually leaned. So there's an angle to the shaft. That's why in the last segment it was so important to have this relationship of the club being on the lead side of my body, and that's aligning it with the lead arm, by the way. That's giving me this nice lead arm alignment. And now, when I move the club away, it's still referencing the lead side of my body as I move away. And watch the path of the club. It moves it to the inside. See that? It's moving it to an inward motion. See that? It's not straight back. It's not up. It's not rotated around. It's keeping the same spatial relationship, this is the same motion here, from the pivot point moving back. See that? Now, the other thing I want you to understand about that is it's like the club is attached to me and everything's moving together. Watch my hips in this. I'll kind of look down here, it's hard to see, but you're going to see that everything's rotating together. I'm pivoting, I'm turning around this trail leg inside this foot. I'm turning around that as I move away because I'm rotating this, and that allows this to move in that circular motion to the inside. There's the inward motion of that. And take a look at this. So if you're looking at it from this perspective, which you're standing over the ball, you're going to be able to see this. notice how the club face, look at the position the club face is in. It's not closed, it's not open, it's rotating with the rotation of that path of the club. That's what I consider a square face to the path. Now, we talk a lot about having the kind of the toe up thing, right? This is where when the club starts its motion up, which is the arm and shoulder moving up, watch what the club does. I'm going to get a little bit of detail on what's happening right there at that moment. So I'm turning the club in. That's what it should look like. And then watch. As this starts coming up, there's that toe up position you might see, because that's the upward movement of the hands taking the club up. So it goes in and then starts coming up. So look what happens to the club, but you must get this club looking like this in that first move. Now, why is that important? Like, you know, you can say, well, Todd, what does it matter if I'm like this or like this? Why does that matter? It has to do with forearm rotation. It has to do with the fact that you've eliminated the rotation. As a matter of fact, I'm only rotating my lead arm as much as the torso rotated. See that? So the lead arm rotation is matching torso rotation. So in other words, you're not rotating the lead arm. Would that be correct? This is not rotating relative to the torso. So you've eliminated rotation here. And by the way, the trail hand position, you know about that. It's sitting on the club. It's not rotating either. So this first motion is really, it's a rotational movement of the body, but not a rotational movement of the arms. And I bet you if you asked our instructors that coach the line at our golf schools, what we see so often is we see an immediate rotation of the forearms right off the bat. So we'll see a lot of this. We see a lot of weird rotations. Well, the minute you rotate your forearms at the beginning of the motion, it takes the club off of its plane, and now, of course, it's just a big, how can I save this golf swing now? It's not moving correctly. So let's go through it now, and let's go right to the top. So here we go at the address. That relationship is massively important to get this address relationship where the shaft is in the right spot, lines up with the lead arm, the body tilt. We've talked about all that. Here goes the first motion into the backswing. Everything turns together. Look at that position there. See the club face? And now, watch as I take the club up. This is the arms, and what I feel in this is just a movement, upward movement of the arm folding. I don't feel a cocking of the wrists. I don't want this. I want a rotation, and then I want this arm to just fold up. And that actually moves the wrists upward to the top. So let's go through it in those two pieces. And again, let me just say this so you don't get crazy with this. I don't think about any of this when I swing. I don't even think about my swing in two pieces. I blend this all together into the motion of the backswing. The in and up motion is a blended movement. So watch, here we go. In and up. In and up. In and up. And now let's do it a little faster. Maybe the camera won't pick this up on my headset here. See how I blended that together? Now, my head's turning, I'm watching that. Let's do it without looking back. And by the way, I love that type of practice. I mean, I think that rehearsal type thing I just did there when I'm training, that first move to the top, getting solid with that, because when I feel great in that first move, hit that position top, man, I feel so solid. It's so easy for me to come down and really hit the ball well. But if that gets kind of wacky, and you guys know this, if you hit that position, you don't feel good at the first movement or the top, you can't save it. It's a rough way to try to strike a golf ball. So how consistent can you get? How much consistency can you build from address to position one to the top and hold there? And there's that top position. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. Here's it again. Position one to the top, and I'm going to blend that, not looking back. I'm going to do that 5 times. Blend it without looking back. I'm going to hold that for just a second. And look, it's all together to the top. Hold that for just a second. Blend it all together. And I'll end it with this. Just like Moe said when I practiced with him, Moe, why do you keep practicing? To make it stronger. If you want to find out more about all the things that Moe taught me, come see me at singleplanacademy.com.